Hi everyone, welcome to Your Techie Buddy. This is part 3 of our Java 8 interview question series. In this video, I'm going to cover about default methods. So default methods were an introduction to the Java interface in Java 8 release. This is a very important topic from interview point of view. So let's get started. So what is the default method and why it is required, right? So default methods are the methods of the interface which has a body. That means it has an implementation. So before Java 8, interfaces only had abstract methods. They did not have any methods which would have a body, right? So the whole intention of having interfaces was interfaces will never have any implementation. They will only have a abstract method. But after Java 8, we are having something called default method. So, so with this, right, the whole existence of interface has changed, right? The whole concept of interface has changed, but obviously changed for a good. I'll explain that in a bit. So to declare a method as default in the interface, we have to use the default keyword. The method adds new functionality to an interface while preventing the backward compatibility with the classes that already implement the interface. That means whenever you add a new method to an interface, you need not have to give the implementation of that method to all the classes which have extended it previously. How can you do that? You can do that by declaring the method as default. There can be multiple default methods in an interface. Okay. Default methods can be overridden if needed in the implementing classes. So by default, when you declare a default method in an interface, you can give any implementation you want. But if the overriding classes want to give their own implementation, they can do that. Now let's check the practical of the same. So here I have a demo class. Let me create an interface for you. Let me have interface demo 1, suppose. Okay, let's have a public default, the keyword to declare the method is default, void print. Okay, let's give a default implementation to this. I am interface demo 1. Okay, now let's extend, let's implement this in the class implements interface demo 1. So my demo class now implements interface demo 1. So now what can I do? I can instantiate my demo class. So now as demo implements interface demo 1, right? So it will have this method here, print, right? The print method which is from the interface demo 1. It is a default method. So now when I run this, I get the output I am interface demo 1. So if you see, this is the demo class which is implementing the interface demo 1, which is an interface. We are just calling the default method in the interface. We have not provided any body to this. We are just printing the body whatever the interface has. So before Java 8, we cannot have a method, right, with the implementation in interface. But with default method, how can you make a method default? With the default keyword, if you don't specify this default keyword, it will error you. It will say interface abstract methods cannot have body. It will treat this as an abstract method, right? So if you want to declare a method as default, you have to use this default keyword, and when you give this body, you will be able to see that in the class which is implementing that interface. So this is the default method. So when I go here, there is a point, right? The method adds a new functionality to an interface while prevent backward compatibility. So this is a very important point. Why default methods were introduced in interfaces? Because suppose I have this demo class. Let me create one more class here. I have demo 1. Okay. Suppose I have demo 1 implements my interface demo 1. Okay. Now I'll have this. So Suppose I have one, I'll add one abstract method to this. I'll not add a default method, print me, right? This is an abstract method. It says two related problems. What are those problems? If you go here, the class which is implementing that interface demo 1, here it will say that I have to give an implementation for the abstract method print me, right? Because any class which implements an interface, it should give implementation to all the abstract methods in that interface, right? Similarly, if I go to demo 1, here also it complains the same. It has to give the implementation to the newly added abstract method print me. So here I have two classes. Suppose in your code base you have some 100 classes which are implementing a single interface. And to get a change to that interface, if you introduce a change to that interface before Java 8 and without this default method declaration, you would have to go and change all the 100 classes in your interface, right? Now so to solve this, we can just add this default keyword. So when you add this default keyword and you give a default body to this method, see when I add this default keyword, all the error went away. So this is what is called backward compatibility. That means whenever you add a new functionality to an interface, you can declare that as default and you need not have to worry about all the classes which have implemented that interface. So this is known as backward compatibility. So that is a problem which is solved by default methods in interfaces. So I have given an example of how the default interface is. So here I have given a functional interface example just to be remain in the same context as the previous part 2 video, because there we had spoken completely about functional interface in detail. So just be on the same page and be in the context. I've taken example of functional interface. If you see, bird is a functional interface. I have used the annotation functional interface. It is not mandatory to use, but I've used it here. Public void it, this is a single abstract method, because any interface which is a functional interface should have a single abstract method. And then here we have added a default method. So this is the default method. The fly is the default method and the keyword default. So this is an example of how you have a default method in an interface, right? So the next question is, what is the use of default method? The use of default methods is backward compatibility. Just now I explained you, when you have hundreds of classes extending your interface and you want to add a single functionality to your interface, instead of breaking all those classes which are implementing your existing interface, you can just add a default to the signature of the method. That is what the use of default method is, backward compatibility. That means in case of a new abstract method is added to the interface, all the classes implementing the interface will break and will have to implement the new method, right? Now let's move on to the next question, which is a very important one. What is diamond problem? So if you remember, Java does not support multiple inheritance, right? So diamond problem arises in case of multiple inheritance. That is, what is multiple inheritance? When one child class has more than one parent class, and if both the parent class have a common method name and signature. So if there is a class A, class B, what is class C is trying to extend both class A and class B, and both class A and class B have same method. So in that case, so such cases lead to ambiguity to the compiler, because the compiler doesn't know which superclass method to execute. So from class C we will try to execute a method, but the compiler will not know which method, because both the method have same name, same signature in both the parent class, right? This will lead to ambiguity. So the diamond problem in Java is the main reason Java does not support multiple inheritance in classes. So this is the main reason why we don't have multiple inheritance in classes, right? In Java for classes, because class C extends class A, class B is not possible. We can only extend one class in Java. But then we know that Java supports multiple inheritance in case of interfaces, right? Because we know that one class can implement multiple interfaces. Suppose class C can implement more than one interfaces. But before Java 8, there were no methods having any implementation. So that's why it was not a problem, right? But now when our interfaces have this default method, there can be one more interface, right, with the same method and with the same body. Then in that case, when my demo class will try to implement, okay, let me just show it here. I'll just create a Java class, interface demo 2. Okay, so let me just have this same default method. I'll remove this. I'll have this same default method in interface demo 2, right? Now when I go to my demo class, here it implements interface demo 1. What I will do is comma, because we can implement multiple interfaces in our Java, right? See, as soon as I give this implementation of both the interfaces, the compiler is complaining. It is telling that unrelated defaults for prints from the types interface demo 1 and interface demo 2. Why? Because interface demo 1 also has print, this also has print, interface demo 2. Now the compiler is confused which print it needs to use in the demo class, right? This is the confusion, and this is known as diamond problem. This is the same reason why we don't why Java doesn't allow extending two same classes, right? Two classes, two parent classes, because this problem will come. But now you will think, after introduction of this default method in interfaces, this problem has again arise, right? But now here the compiler itself tells us to handle it, right? And how can I handle it? I will give an implementation. I'll give an implementation to this print method. It will override this print method. And the solution to this diamond problem is, in this overridden print method, the method which has the same name in both interfaces, you have to specify which one to use. And to specify that, the syntax is interface name dot the super keyword dot the method name. This solves our diamond problem in case of default methods in interfaces. This is a very important question from interview point of view, so please be listen carefully to this. See, I am interface demo 1. Now compiler doesn't complain. It clearly knows, okay, although this class is implementing two interfaces, both are having the same method, but we have handled the ambiguity issue, we have handled the diamond problem by specifying this single line. Similarly, instead of one, we can give two. Now compiler knows, okay, it has to call the print method of interface demo 2. See, I am interface demo. Okay, sorry. The message here is same. I just changed it to 2. I am interface demo 2, right? So this is what diamond problem is and how we can solve it, right? Again, to reiterate, what is diamond problem? In Java, we can implement multiple interfaces. When these multiple interfaces have a same default method with same name and signature, the compiler gets confused which one to invoke. In that case, we are supposed to override the implementation of the method which is common in both the interfaces and solve the ambiguity by specifying the interface name dot the super keyword dot the method which needs to be called. So coming back to this, the diamond problem in Java is the main reason Java does not support multiple inheritance in classes, but Java supports multiple inheritance in case of interfaces. That's why the next question is, how is diamond problem handled in case of default method? This is what I explained you. This is a very important question. Interview might ask you that after the introduction of default methods, diamond problem or the ambiguity issue will come. Or sometimes the interviewer might not also hint you that it's a diamond problem. They want to listen from you. What is the problem? The question may be framed this way, that after the introduction of default methods, there is a problem which would arise when a class is implementing both the interfaces. What is that problem and how can we solve this? So the problem is the ambiguity issue, which is the diamond problem, and to solve it, you have to override the method and you have to use interface name dot the super keyword dot the method name, right? Then one more question is, can an interface have more than one default method? Yes, you can have an interface can have n number of default method. There is no restriction. And this is just to confuse you guys, they can ask you, can a functional interface have default method? So that's why I gave you this example. So they might confuse you like, okay, interface and functional interface, right? So functional interface is nothing but an interface which has only single abstract method. Okay, there is no restriction on the default method. It can have n number of default methods or static method, but it can only have one abstract method. So that is what they're going to ask you. Can a functional interface have default method? Yes, a functional interface can have n number of default and static methods, but only one abstract method. So if you say, state this line, they'll be completely clear that you know the concept about functional interface, you know what are default methods clearly. So that's it, guys. This is a very important concept, default methods introduction in Java 8, the importance of default method, how what is backward compatibility, how it's why backward compatibility thing is how it is handled by default methods, what is diamond problem and how it is solved. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel so that it will keep us motivated. Thank you so much.